In our daily lives, we often find ourselves questioning why, despite doing good, we sometimes feel like we are not rewarded. We might wonder if the teachings of good deeds will be rewarded and evil will be punished hold true, or if they are merely comforting words. This confusion is not uncommon, and it can make us lose faith in the concept of karma. However, the true essence of karma goes beyond simple cause and effect, and it carries a depth and power that can change our lives in unimaginable ways. A story of doubt and discovery. Once upon a time, in a remote village nestled between the borders of Tibet and Nepal, there lived a merchant named Tashi. Surrounded by mountains, this village was a hub for trade, and many merchants passed through on their way to sell their goods. Tashi inherited a small shop from his father, selling everything from necessities to rare textiles. Known for his honesty and integrity, Tashi prided himself on conducting his business with sincerity. Despite his virtuous life, Tashi couldn't shake the doubt that had been growing in his heart. As spring arrived and the winds began to warm the village, he found himself questioning the very teachings his father had passed down to him. He had been taught that living an honest life was the right path, but he was troubled by what he saw in his village. Honest farmers struggled, while deceitful traders seemed to thrive. Some merchants made their fortunes through dishonest means, while others who ran their shops with integrity were barely scraping by. Tashi began to wonder, does it really matter if we do good? Is karma truly at work? Can good deeds really bring about rewards? Or is it all just a lie? His doubts grew as he saw how the world seemed to favor the cunning, while the virtuous often faced hardship. One evening, as he pondered these questions, he stepped outside and gazed at a distant temple. It was rumored that a wise monk had recently arrived there, someone known for his deep understanding of the nature of karma and the way of the world. Tashi felt an unusual pull toward the temple. Perhaps this monk could answer the questions that had been gnawing at him. A journey to find answers. The next morning, Tashi decided to visit the temple. He had always been diligent about running his shop, but that day he felt an inexplicable force guiding him to the temple. As he walked along the path leading to the sacred grounds, the serenity of nature filled him with a sense of calm. Wildflowers bloomed along the way, and the song of birds echoed in the air. By the time he reached the temple, a sense of peace had settled over him. Upon entering the temple grounds, Tashi saw an elderly monk sitting quietly, meditating. There was an aura of sacredness around him, and the monk's white hair seemed to glow in the morning light. Tashi approached him with great respect, bowing deeply. "Master," Tashi said, his voice trembling slightly, "I have a question that has been troubling me for a long time. I wonder if you can help me find an answer." The monk opened his eyes, his gaze filled with kindness and wisdom. "Tell me, young merchant, what weighs on your heart?" the monk asked. Tashi explained his doubts about karma, how he had always been taught that good deeds lead to rewards and evil deeds lead to punishment. But what he saw around him seemed to contradict this teaching. He spoke of the honest people who were suffering while the dishonest seemed to prosper. The monk listened carefully, nodding as he absorbed Tashi's words. After a pause, he spoke gently, yet with profound wisdom. Understanding karma. Karma is not something that can be measured by immediate results, young merchant, the monk explained. Think of it like planting a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't see the sprout right away. But underground, the seed is undergoing a transformation, preparing to emerge. Similarly, the effects of our actions may not be immediately visible, but they are always at work, shaping the course of our lives. He gestured to the flowers blooming in the temple garden. These flowers didn't bloom overnight. They were the result of seeds planted long ago. Just as these flowers bloom, your actions, good or bad, create ripples that may not be visible in the moment, but they will eventually yield their fruits. The fruits of good deeds might not come in the form you expect, but they will come. Tashi listened intently, his heart slowly beginning to find peace. But does that mean that the struggles I face now are the result of my past actions? He asked. Yes, the monk replied. But the story doesn't end there. The important thing is that you are still here, and you still have the power to act. You may not be able to change the past, but you can always choose to plant new seeds, even now. And those new seeds will lead to a future that is more beautiful than you can imagine. The monk's words resonated deeply with Tashi. He realized that while the world may seem unfair, his actions, his choices, were still within his control. He did not need to be a passive observer of his fate, but an active participant in shaping his future. A test of compassion. A few days later, Tashi was put to the test. On a cold, rainy evening, an elderly woman entered his shop, looking tired and bedraggled. Her clothes were soaked, and her face was pale from exhaustion. She approached the counter with trembling hands and pointed to a fine blanket on display. "I don't have any money," she said, her voice shaky. "But please, my grandson is sick and needs this blanket to survive the night. If you could just let me have it." Tashi felt an immediate pang of sympathy for her, but his father's teachings echoed in his mind. Business was business, and giving away goods for free would set a dangerous precedent. Yet, he also remembered the monk's words: choose good actions, and those actions will eventually bear fruit. Tashi hesitated for a moment, then slowly walked to the shelf and retrieved the blanket. "Take it," he said, handing it to the woman. "And here's some medicine for your grandson, too. I hope he gets better soon." Tears welled up in the woman's eyes, and she bowed deeply in gratitude. "Thank you, kind sir. You have saved my grandson's life." Tashi watched as she left, a warm feeling spreading through his chest. He had chosen compassion over business, and for the first time, he felt the true weight of his actions. But just as he was beginning to feel at peace with his decision, something unexpected happened. A moment of betrayal. 3 days later, Tashi awoke to the sounds of movement in his shop. He rushed downstairs and was horrified to find the old woman, who had come to return the blanket, stuffing goods into a sack. Her face was filled with guilt and fear, and she immediately dropped the sack when she saw Tashi. Anger surged through Tashi. He felt betrayed. His act of kindness had been repaid with theft. He could not understand how someone could take advantage of his goodwill. But then, as he stood there, the monk's teachings flooded back to him. Don't judge only by the surface. Every action has its reason. Tashi took a deep breath, calming his emotions. He approached the woman and, to her surprise, gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "Why did you steal?" he asked quietly. Through her tears, the woman explained that her grandson's condition had worsened, and she had no other way to get the medicine he needed. She had acted out of desperation, not malice. Tashi understood. He forgave her, offering her a chance to work off her debt by helping in his shop. Over time, she became an integral part of his business, and her grandson's health improved. The ripple of good deeds. As weeks passed, the ripple effects of Tashi's compassionate actions spread throughout the village. His shop flourished, not just because of the good deeds he had done, but because the community recognized the sincerity and generosity of his heart. People began to visit not only to buy goods, but to share in the warmth of kindness and understanding that Tashi had created. Tashi realized that the karma he had once doubted was not just about the immediate effects of his actions. It was about the long-term effects, the way each good deed ripples out and touches others in ways we may never fully understand. Conclusion: the true meaning of karma. Years later, Tashi returned to the temple to thank the monk for his wisdom. The monk smiled and said, "You have embodied the true meaning of karma, young merchant. The ripple of good deeds continues far beyond what you see, shaping the world in ways you can't even imagine." Your actions have brought blessings, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. Tashi bowed deeply, understanding at last the power of karma, the power to change the world, one good deed at a time. He had learned that karma is not a simple cause and effect mechanism. It is a force that operates on a much deeper level, transforming not just the individual, but the world itself. By choosing kindness, by planting the seeds of good actions, we have the power to create a better future for ourselves and for everyone we encounter. And so, Tashi continued to live his life, spreading kindness and compassion wherever he went, knowing that the seeds he planted would one day bloom into something beautiful. In a story. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please consider subscribing to the channel. We will continue to explore the wisdom of Buddha and how it can help us lead more fulfilling, peaceful lives. Let's make the world a better place, one good deed at a time.